Hi, Namaskar. In this video, I love to talk about some of the institutions with which I am associated, which gives me some experience in institution building. I think, needless to say, all of us are associated with schools and colleges where you study. But when you get back to some of these institutions and start looking at them from a different perspective, you do get new insights about the institution. My own school where I studied is a Jilla Parishad High School located in a village called Akanur. I cherish that place very well because my initial years up to 11th standard school final was formed there. After that I joined Loyola College, Vijayawada, where I did my pre-university as well as BSc in Maths, Physics and Chemistry. It's a great institution run by Jesuits, and I had special relationship with the Jesuits there, who, looking at my background, took some special interest in me. After that, I went to the Regional College of Education, Mysore, where I did my 1-year B.Ed in science. Great college. I was lucky to have been taught by some great professors there. Some of them just returned from USA and used to bring in a lot of experiments into the classroom. Then I did my master's in psychology at Osmania University, Hyderabad. Great professors again, and impacted me a lot. We were more like a family. We started only with, in the master's in psychology, about 11 students, including someone from England, and finally we ended up with only about 7 or 8 of us. It's a great institution, and I have always kept in touch with the institute. Next comes my National Institute of Health Administration, from where I did my PhD, but PhD was awarded by the Sardar Patel University. At NHI, I was Assistant Professor of Education and Training and was also in charge of a project on student mental health, motivation training for student mental health, a very interesting kind of a project. But NHI is a great institution and small institution at the time. I was there with about 25 members, and I had the opportunity to teach the doctoral students in medicine, MD medicine. Then I was associated with the School of Basic Science and Humanities at Udaipur University, where I spent 2 years. NHI was 3 years, including ICMR project. The longest of my tenure and association is with the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. I joined the institute in 1973, December 3rd, and left sometime in 1994 after I got my 20-year medal. But I left only formally. Informally, I continued to be as a visiting professor for some years as an adjunct professor, later joined the IIM Ahmedabad Society, and also twice elected to be on the board on behalf of the society. And then that's how my association with IIM Ahmedabad continued till the year 2019, almost about from 1973 to 2019 is almost closer to about 45 and odd years. But in the institute, I had done a number of things, including, I think, reviewing the PGP postgraduate program, chairing the postgraduate program, chairing the doctoral program, designing the Ravi Mathai Center, and also participating in the design of the public systems group, and committee for future directions, which reviewed the institute, a lot of entrepreneurial workshop. My work at IIM Ahmedabad has been very well documented in a working paper at IIM. These are all the institutions that I have gone through as either a student or as a faculty. Of course, I must mention at this point of time, I went on leave for a little less than a couple of years to XLRI Jamshedpur, where I set up the Center for HRD at XLRI. I was Assistant Professor there. Now there are lots of insights when you look back these institutions, because one thing with me is that I loved the institutions where I studied or worked, and always went back wherever there was an opportunity for me to go back, talk to people, look at the institutional process and things like that. But as a person in institution building, I was associated with a few institutions. These are largely in the form of self-renewal exercises. Participate in a diagnostic study and plan some interventions, implement the interventions to bring about change. The earliest I recollect is the Lawrence School Sonawar, where Ravi Muthai, Uday Parikh and I were involved, where we visited a number of times and conducted a self-renewal lab and initiated certain new activities. Although I am not associated with any institution in particular, but the Javaja project, which started as a project of educational innovations in Rajasthan, can also be stated as a kind of an institution building project. More than that, I was involved with the Ministry of Education those years in evaluating the adult education programs, which got me to visit a large number of NGOs in Rajasthan, actually see the work they are doing, go to rural areas, review the adult education efforts, and come up with a report on how to improve adult education and so on. So in fact, there were a series of reports available at IIM Ahmedabad, and later we wrote this in a book form called Adult Education for Social Change, authored by T.P. Ramarao, Anil Bhatt and myself. As far as self-renewal is concerned, besides the Lawrence School Sonawar, I must mention I was also associated with the Doon School. The same principal of Sonawar, when he went to Doon School, Shomi Das, he observed some interesting group situations and conflicts. So he invited me and Dr. Uday Parikh to come and then facilitate. So we spent about 4 days with them, re-examined their structures, processes, and facilitated the resolution of the conflict between the senior and the younger kind of a faculty. So this is another institution building experience that I would narrate. In addition to this, when I was at XLRI Jamshedpur, I was a part of the committee to review the institute, along with Father Matthias, Prakash Tandon, and a number of other faculty of the institute. We submitted our report and suggested some new directions for XLRI Jamshedpur. It was at this point of time Father Romuald D'Souza was formulating the Xavier Institute of Management at Bhubaneswar, and he used to share with us some of the issues that he was having. Much later, many years later, when Xavier Institute of Management got strengthened, I got associated on the advisory committee of the School of Social Sciences and Human Resources Development. So I kept attending quite a few meetings and giving suggestions and things like that. In recent years, I am also associated on the board of Goa Institute of Management, both as a chairman of the Academic Advisory Board and as a board member for last 6 years. This has been an exciting experience, observed many processes, participated in the assessment of the faculty as well as the director, initiated them to conduct a institutional climate survey and helped them to look at it and then see a renewal. When it comes to organizational diagnosis, doing diagnostic surveys for institutions, I must mention that when I was at XLRI, we also helped a Xavier group of institutions at Bangalore and the Mount Carmel group of institutions at Bangalore and Mysore to have a look at themselves by interviewing people, looking at what are the strengths and weaknesses, and giving our recommendations and setting future directions. It is another interesting kind of an experience we have had. Around that time, before that, Uday Parikh and I happened to work with a Rome-based ICM sisters, Immaculate Heart of Mary, ICM sisters. They had an international conference at Dindigal in Madurai. Both Uday and I helped them prepare for managing the conference very well. After that, I worked with the district team of India where we have had a whole series of diagnostic exercises as well as setting directions for the future, and I think these are largely team building work with the ICM group of sisters. I was also involved in during diagnosis for institutions like Center for Environmental Education in Ahmedabad and the National Institute of Design. At some point of time, we were requested to help them conduct a learning environment or organizational environment survey, link it with employee satisfaction, and give some directions for institution building, strengthening these institutions and so on. I must mention at this point of time a very interesting experiment in which I was involved, financed by the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation. This agency, World Bank and the Ministry of Electronics and Government of India financed a large number of engineering colleges and polytechnics. And they discovered after 5 years some of them are not able to use the funds, whereas others are demanded more and more funds. So they wanted us to examine the reasons why. So we formulated a very interesting project where we studied the institutional environment of these institutions and conducted a survey of the students, of the faculty, staff and all people, and came up with some interesting conclusions about why some institutions fail to innovate whereas some others are always ready to innovate and so on. This was available as a book on innovations in education, published by Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation and TV Raw Learning Systems. Of course, I'm on the committee of some university, some institution or the other, like IIHMR. I was on the academic committee for some years when Dr. Uday Parikh was there, and we did a lot of work. Like that, I think I can say that there are many other institutions with which I'm associated, but this is a decent list of institutions. And what do I learn from these institutions? I think institution building is a very involved process. Institution building helps institutions to review themselves, renew themselves, redesign themselves, and make a lasting impact on society. I think institutions do need help. When you are a consultant, you may be doing a very small work for them, a diagnostic work, or a renewal lab, or a faculty development program. You may not realize that it becomes a very interesting point in the life of that particular institution. Small interventions can go a long way in building and strengthening institutions. Normally, when you work as an outsider, as a consultant, you have the privilege of being able to sense the internal feelings of people, articulate for them, and present it for the community and build the community at large. You can interact with all the stakeholders and help them to discover what is not known to them. Everyone looks at the institution from his or her own angle, but when a consultant goes there, he can bring multiple perspectives and initiate a new learning and a new process. That is how institution building is a great science. It is called in some other terminology as organization development interventions. You can use all kinds of things that are possible. But it is fun with working with institutions. I think it's more fun working with them rather than organizations, because institutions are more complex than organizations. And small things can go a long way in making institutions make a long impact. So friends, through this video I want to say, please read about institution building, read about institution building experiences of some people who worked in these institutions, observed them from outside or worked from inside, and have some insights to share. I think India is filled with great institutions, and we can do a lot in making these institutions contribute to the growth and development of this country. Thank you very much for your patient listening.